Welcome. It's Lauren Clark, President and CEO of Bridge C14. This is part one of a three-part series featuring Cynthia Clark. Today, Cynthia shares with our listeners a recording of her story entitled Telling the Kids. Thank you, Cynthia, for being open to sharing this, for your honesty, and for your dedication to supporting others through the MAiD experience.
Telling the kids. You aren't going to tell the kids, are you? His voice both intense and worried. I look at him quizzically. Dark sunglasses cover his trustworthy eyes. I feel my stomach adjust to his ideological infidelity. Why wouldn't I tell them? I snap, noticing how his betrayal felt in my gut. We are standing in the schoolyard, watching our kids twirl around on the spinny thing, being powered by someone else's dad, one hand over the other. There was a time he would have been pushing, laughing, playing with the kids. I watched the pink and blue jackets rotate around and around. They won't understand. Let them keep their innocence a while longer, as if it's his decision and not mine. Jackets keep spinning, blurring into a streak of purple. I had counted on him as an ally. I wasn't expecting pushback on my bid for transparency from him. My mind spins, trying to make sense of my gross miscalculation. Is he worried about my kids or his kids? Will you tell the kids? She asks cautiously on one of our regular morning walks. The sky is blue and a Chinook has blown in. I furrow my brows and shove my hands deeper into my jacket pockets. I squeeze my shoulders against my ears in the cold. She's been my rock since he got sick. A second mother to my kids. Maybe you don't have to tell them everything, she challenges, in the diplomatic voice of reason I've come to depend on. She is intimately familiar with my pattern of being honest with my children. If he knows he will die, I think he will try to say goodbye. The kids would sense something. They would notice. I describe the scene that plays out in my mind. My husband hugging my kids tightly, refusing to let go. My kids squirming, confused about his tears and this endless embrace. The lie would have to tell them to explain his clingy behavior. I can't fathom their anger at me if they ever found out that I knew and didn't tell them. Canada geese squawk overhead, piercing our awkward silence. As the steam rises off the strong, turbulent river, our situation is unveiled. My openness is forcing my friend to confront realities they aren't ready to talk about with their own kids. Her children are my kids' best friends. We continue in silence. We both understand that what I tell my kids will inevitably filter through to hers. She knows better than to ask me not to tell them, yet she's uncomfortable and unable to consider this kind of truth right now. I look up and around, listening to the silence between us, contemplating the impacts. I am terrified of losing her support. She seems to understand, or pretends to, but I sense her discomfort. Is she imagining this scene too? The one at my house, or hers? The first heartbreaking conversation I had with our children was several months earlier on a cold November morning, the day after their dad's birthday. The kids found me in my bed, held by a dear friend who had cared for them when I hadn't come home the night before. I had been in the emergency room with my husband, learning firsthand just how quickly bad news gets delivered. Where's Daddy? They probed nervously. The awful truth of his terminal diagnosis invoked more questions than answers. I knew they expected my honesty, but the facts that I did have, 2 centimeters, frontal lobe, cancer, aggressive, 12 to 14 months, were not the kinds of answers they were seeking. They asked the questions the rest of us consider improper while tilting our heads to hear the responses anyway. Is Daddy going to die? How long will his surgery take? What color is his tumor? Is Daddy going to die? Can I have his watch after he dies? Will he be alive for Christmas? They shouted out rounds of questions at me like a firing squad. My brain raced to register them all. I chased questions around in circles, spinning. My body craved space, coffee, and silence. When he dies, will he be dead forever? Is heaven real? Where is it? I'm worried the kids might not understand. My father shares his concern that the children might conflate medically assisted death with suicide. He wants to protect them from feeling abandoned when they learned that this was a choice, that we could have had more time together. How would I not tell them? I whisper. The weight of this question sits heavily on my chest. I straighten up and breathe deeply. I don't want to engage in any more conversations about what other people can handle, masquerading as concern for my children's well-being. I want to advocate for my husband's right to die. I want to be honest with my children. I want everyone's support. This challenge, again and again, is maddening. This is different from suicide, I snarl. I pause and take a series of slow, deep breaths. Eventually, I raise my head and see my sorrow reflected in my father's gentle eyes. Squeezed beneath overgrown, wiry brows and above puffy, aging bags, I see his distress. My eyes well with tears and my heart throbs as I wrap my arms around my father. The impotence he feels, not being able to shelter us from the tragedy that lies on our path. I feel it too. The conversations that ensue nearly break me. I'm confident that my children won't understand because I don't understand. Why do bad things happen to good people? I gather them anyway, the kids, my husband and I on the couch, one in each of our laps, and my parents across from us. What's happening? Why does everyone look so sad? They snuggle into our laps, settling under the weight of the air in the room, searching our eyes for clues. Without any preamble, I ration out the information that I think they can handle. I am honest. Daddy's tumor is growing. The poison that makes him sick isn't working. Daddy is going to die soon. The man we know and love will soon quit speaking altogether, quit walking, and quit making sense. He will likely get angry and agitated as his brain betrays him long before his healthy body deteriorates. He must choose to die soon if he wishes to maintain some control. Releasing us from his inevitable decline has always been his wish. I love him more for making this generous choice. At times, I believe it may be more than I can handle, telling my beautiful children the truth. Daddy is ready to die. Tears come from a place I've never felt before. Deep, churning heat rises through my torso and seeps out in sobs and gasps. I don't understand why they have to grow up without a dad. He hugs them and cries silent tears. He lost most of his ability to speak after brain surgery, trading his language for 47 staples and a horseshoe scar, but he musters a quiet, I love you. None of us understands the amount of love it will take for him to spare us a slow and traumatic end, nor the ache I will feel in my bones when I hold my best friend in my arms as a doctor administers his death. Our children's reactions reassure me that they have not had time in their few years on earth to learn about the stigma of medical suicide, the weight and shame of this word. They are too naive to know how long a natural death can take or the toll that it exacts. For now, they absorb my words and ask innocent questions. It's too soon. Can he wait until after his birthday? It's too soon for us, but imagine what the wait must feel like for him. Tuesday is 5 days away. He doesn't want to live like this. He doesn't want us to see him living like this. I try to explain the unexplainable. One day at a time, one step at a time, one hug at a time, Mommy. Our 6-year-old son whispers in my ear when he finds me sobbing by myself one evening. I cry on his little shoulder, holding him tightly on my lap. Before I have time to reach for a tissue, he has switched gears, joking and wrestling and running circles around and around the oversized island in our kitchen, laughing with his sister like a little hyena. I've been told that grief in kids looks different, that they will process in steps and bounce from one emotion to another. My adult brain struggles to match their pace in this marathon of hopelessness. I want to sit with my sadness and fear, I want to wallow and shout and expel this awfulness from my gut, but I'm forced to meet them where they are at and find my way to tickles and laughter. It exhausts me. You aren't going to let the kids be present, are you? It's too much for them. They won't understand, she advises. There is a kind and sympathetic nurse sitting in my living room across from my husband, assessing his competence. She is younger than I expected, mid-30s with long brown hair. She's the second evaluator to visit us like this. She wants to see if he is fit to choose to end his life. Does he understand his diagnosis and his treatment options? Does he comprehend what he is asking for and why? My husband is forced, through garbled words and strained speech, to defend his choice. He relies on me to be his voice, while she scrutinizes my motives. She shares her recommendation against our kids' participation in his death, even though we haven't asked her. I am tempted to remind her whose life she has control over. In this moment, I am more offended by her opinion about my kids' well-being than I am by her status as the gatekeeper of my husband's wish to die with dignity. My jaw clenches, bile rises in my throat, my eyes hot with tears. Does she understand what these 90 minutes mean to us? Does she comprehend that this conversation will be his only one today? His mind and body will be exhausted from the efforts. Is she fit to judge his motives, our motives, for wanting a quick and painless end? Does she know his heart? Daddy loves us and wants to spare us from seeing him suffer. He will die anyway. This way we can remember him being well, I overhear my daughter explaining to her grandma. She processes our situation verbally, repeating the story to friends and family who visit, as if they are learning this for the first time, as if they haven't been my sounding boards, asserting their opinions, certain the kids would not understand the truth. But my kids do understand. They understand pain and suffering. They also understand compassion and dignity and love. Surprisingly, they see some things far more clearly than most adults. It's his body, so I guess it's his choice, she emphasizes. Do you think they understand, Mom? My daughter asks me after school one day. She is lying at my feet in the snow, making angels, her hot pink snow pants moving rhythmically, open and closed. It's been 4 months since their dad died. She is trying to explain how it feels to still be the same old person she has always been, while also feeling like nothing will ever be the same again. She wants to be treated normally, like she used to be. Yet, she desires compassion and patience on bad days. She feels moments of total normalcy and others of complete despair. Do you think they will understand, Mom? No, I don't think anyone will understand more than you do.